I, 38F, need to get this off my chest as I don't know who to talk to about this situation. My husband Robbie, 41M, and I have been married for 10 years now. We met in college when I was 18 and he was 21. He was this incredibly fit guy who was on the college track team, and I was just a regular student focusing on my studies. We became friends almost instantly and spent most of our time together. Back then, Robbie and I shared all our classes as we were both business majors. We started studying together in the library every evening. He would help me with statistics while I helped him with marketing concepts. Gradually, our study sessions turned into coffee dates and movie nights. We became inseparable. All our friends used to joke about how we were practically dating without actually dating. Our relationship evolved slowly. During our senior year, we finally admitted our feelings for each other and started dating. Those were probably the happiest months of my college life. Robbie was attentive, caring, and made me feel special. But things changed after graduation. He got offered a position as a personal trainer at an upscale gym in the city, while I landed a marketing job at a firm about 2 hours away. We tried long distance for a few months but eventually broke up. The distance wasn't the only issue though. Robbie was becoming increasingly focused on his fitness career. He was spending longer hours at the gym, participating in competitions, and building his client base. Meanwhile, I was trying to establish myself in my career, often working late and traveling for client meetings. Despite the breakup, we stayed in touch through social media and mutual friends. 2 years later, I got transferred to the same city where Robbie worked. We ran into each other at a coffee shop and it felt like no time had passed. We started hanging out again, and within a month, we were dating. This time felt different. We were both more mature, had established careers, and knew what we wanted from life. After dating for a year, Robbie proposed during a hiking trip. I was 28 and he was 31 when we got married in a beautiful beach ceremony. The first few years of marriage were great. We bought a house together, traveled to different countries, and built a comfortable life. Robbie's fitness career took off. He became the head trainer at his gym and started his own fitness consulting business. I climbed the corporate ladder and became a marketing director. But looking back, I can see where things started to change. Robbie has always been obsessed with fitness. Even now at 41, he spends at least 3 hours at the gym every day, goes running every morning at 5 a.m., and participates in various athletic events. He's constantly training for one competition or another. His entire social circle consists of gym buddies and fitness enthusiasts. I, on the other hand, have never been into intense workouts. I enjoy my weekly Pilates classes and occasional yoga sessions, but that's about it. Over the years, I've gained some weight and become what you'd call slightly chubby. This never bothered me much as I've always been comfortable in my own skin. I focus more on my career and enjoy spending my free time reading or watching movies. Things started changing about 6 months ago. Robbie's sex drive has always been higher than mine, but lately it's become overwhelming. He wants intimacy almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day. I've tried to keep up, but between work stress and general tiredness, it's exhausting. He started making comments about how I should join him at the gym, suggesting that maybe if I was more active, I'd have more energy for sex. At first, these were subtle hints. He would casually mention how couple workouts could be fun, or how exercising together might spice up our relationship. Then the comments became more direct. He started pointing out how all his clients had such high energy levels, how being fit could improve libido, and how I seemed to always be too tired these days. These comments hurt, but I tried to ignore them. The breaking point came last month. After another argument about our mismatched libidos, where he accused me of not putting enough effort into maintaining our physical relationship, I made what I now realize was a huge mistake. I suggested we try an open relationship. My thinking was that if he could fulfill his physical needs elsewhere, he'd stop pressuring me so much and we could focus on the emotional aspects of our marriage. Robbie seemed hesitant at first. He asked if I was sure, if this was really what I wanted. After several long discussions, we agreed to try it with some ground rules: no emotional attachments, complete honesty about partners, no one from our social circle, and definitely no family members. We also agreed to use protection and get regular STD tests. I even created a spreadsheet to track when and where he would be meeting others, just to maintain transparency. Everything seemed fine for the first few weeks. Robbie started going out more often and I noticed he was happier and less frustrated at home. He would tell me about his dates, mostly women he met at the gym or through fitness competitions. I tried to be supportive, even though it was harder than I expected. Then I started noticing a pattern. All the women he was seeing were extremely young, between 19 and 22, and very fit. They all looked like fitness models, tall, toned, with perfect bodies. When I brought this up, he dismissed it, saying these were just the kind of women he met at the gym. He said younger women were more likely to be interested in casual relationships without emotional attachment. I felt increasingly insecure but reminded myself that this was what I had suggested. I tried to focus on the positives. He was less frustrated at home, we were fighting less about sex, and he had stopped making comments about my lifestyle. But something felt off. The situation has been eating at me though. I can't help but feel that by suggesting an open relationship, I've somehow validated all his complaints about my body and our sex life. I've started wondering if this was really about his high sex drive or if he just wasn't attracted to me anymore. Last week, I overheard him on the phone with one of these girls. He was talking to her the way he used to talk to me when we first started dating, using the same pet names, making the same jokes. It made me realize that despite our rule about no emotional attachments, he was developing connections with these women. When I confronted him about it, he laughed it off, saying I was being paranoid and that I had no right to complain since this was my idea in the first place. He said I couldn't dictate how he talked to other women and that I was just jealous because these women were younger and fitter than me. I'm starting to regret my decision, but I don't know how to take it back without seeming controlling or hypocritical. The whole situation is making me question our entire relationship. Was I just a convenient choice because we had history? Did he settle for me because I was there when he was ready to get married? I need advice on how to handle this. Update 1: the situation has gotten more complicated. My niece Mallory, 19F, came to stay with us for a few days last week. She's my sister's daughter and is considering moving to our city for college. I've always been close to her, almost like a second mother. I practically helped raise her as my sister was a single mom working 2 jobs when Mallory was young. Mallory has always been special to me. I remember taking her to her first gymnastics class when she was 5. She fell in love with the sport instantly and has been competing ever since. She's incredibly talented and has won several state championships. Now she's looking at colleges with good gymnastics programs, and our city's university is one of her top choices. From the moment she arrived at our house, I noticed how Robbie looked at her. She's exactly his type, young, fit, and pretty. She has that perfect gymnast body that he seems to be so attracted to lately. At first, I tried to convince myself I was being paranoid. After all, this was my niece, practically my daughter. Surely Robbie wouldn't cross that line. But things felt off from the start. Robbie, who normally leaves for the gym at 5 a.m., started staying home until after breakfast. He would sit at the kitchen table, chatting with Mallory about fitness and nutrition. He seemed fascinated by her training routine and competition schedule. The way he looked at her when she talked about her gymnastics made my skin crawl. Robbie started spending more time at home during her stay, which was completely out of character for him. He even skipped his evening training sessions, something he hadn't done in years. He offered to show her around the city, suggesting places she might like, mostly health food restaurants and fitness centers he frequented. When Mallory mentioned she was looking for apartments near the university, Robbie immediately volunteered to help. He claimed he knew all the safe neighborhoods and could help her find a good deal. I wanted to object, but how could I without seeming suspicious? After all, he was just being helpful to family, right? One day, Mallory mentioned she was interested in strength training to complement her gymnastics. Robbie's eyes lit up. He suggested she could use our home gym instead of paying for a gym membership. He offered to create a training program specifically for her, something he usually charges his clients hundreds of dollars for. I started making excuses to work from home, not wanting to leave them alone together. I would purposely sit in the living room, which has a clear view of our home gym through the glass doors. I noticed how Robbie would find excuses to spot her during exercises, his hands lingering a bit too long when correcting her form. Then came the incident that confirmed all my fears. I had a meeting I couldn't skip, but I managed to leave work early. When I got home, I found them in our home gym. Robbie was standing behind Mallory, his hands on her waist, supposedly showing her proper form for squats. But the way they were positioned, the way they jumped apart when they saw me, it wasn't professional at all. Mallory looked embarrassed and quickly went to her room, while Robbie acted like nothing had happened. He casually asked about my day, but I could see a slight flush on his face. That night, after Mallory went to bed, I confronted him about it. He got defensive immediately. He accused me of being jealous and possessive, saying I was seeing things that weren't there. When I pointed out how inappropriate it was for him to be so hands-on with my teenage niece, he scoffed. He reminded me again that I was the one who wanted an open relationship, as if that somehow justified his behavior with Mallory. I brought up our rule about family members being off limits. He dismissed it, saying he was just being a supportive uncle, helping her prepare for college athletics. He turned it around on me, suggesting that my insecurities were making me imagine things that weren't there. Mallory left yesterday, and I'm torn about whether to tell my sister about my suspicions. My sister raised Mallory alone after her husband passed away when Mallory was just 3. She's worked so hard to give Mallory a good life, and I don't want to create family drama based on what might just be my own insecurities. But I can't stop thinking about how Robbie's behavior changed during her stay. The way he looked at her during meals, how he always seemed to find reasons to be in whatever room she was in, how he offered to drive her places when I could have done it. I've started checking his phone when he's in the shower, which I know is wrong, but I'm desperate to know if anything happened between them. So far I haven't found anything, but Robbie's been very protective of his phone lately, always keeping it face down and taking it with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. The whole situation has made me physically ill. I can barely sleep at night, wondering if I'm just being paranoid or if my husband is actually attracted to my teenage niece. The worst part is that even if nothing physical happened between them, I can't unsee the way he looked at her. I can't unhear the flirtatious tone in his voice when he talked to her. My sister called this morning to say that Mallory is seriously considering accepting the offer from our city's university. The thought of her living nearby, potentially coming over frequently, makes me break out in cold sweat. I don't know how to protect her without revealing my suspicions. Update 2: my worst fears were confirmed yesterday in the most devastating way possible. I found out about Robbie and Mallory, and the reality was even worse than my suspicions. I was using Robbie's iPad to check our shared calendar when a video notification popped up. The preview showed Robbie's gym, and at first I thought it was just one of his workout videos that he often records for his clients. My hands were shaking as I opened it. The timestamp showed it was from during Mallory's stay with us. The video showed Robbie and Mallory in what looked like the gym's storage room. They were making out intensely, and Robbie's hands were all over her. I felt physically sick watching my husband kiss my teenage niece, someone I had helped raise, someone who called me auntie and came to me for advice. The video was barely a minute long, but it was enough to destroy everything. I could hear them whispering to each other, planning to meet again. Mallory giggled the same way she did when she was a little girl excited about something. But this wasn't innocent excitement, this was my husband corrupting my niece. I sat there for hours, the iPad in my lap, waiting for Robbie to come home. When he finally walked in from the gym, he immediately noticed something was wrong. Before he could say anything, I turned the iPad toward him and played the video. The color drained from his face. At first, he tried to deny it. He claimed the video must be old, that I was mistaken about who was in it. When I pointed out the timestamp and Mallory's distinctive gymnastics team jacket, he switched tactics. He blamed me. He actually had the nerve to say that I was the one who wanted an open relationship, that I pushed him away with my lack of interest in sex and fitness. Then came the most disgusting part. He tried to justify it by saying Mallory came onto him. He said she had been flirting with him since she arrived, that she was mature for her age, that she understood him in ways I never could. He claimed he tried to resist but she was persistent. My blood boiled hearing him try to blame a teenage girl for his predatory behavior. I lost it completely. I screamed at him that she was barely an adult, that she was family, that we had specifically agreed family was off limits. I reminded him that he had known her since she was a child, that he had attended her gymnastics competitions, that he was supposed to be a trusted uncle figure to her. He shot back that age wasn't an issue since she was legal, and that I couldn't dictate who he could be with since I was the one who suggested opening the marriage. He said that if I had been more attentive to his needs, more interested in fitness and health like Mallory was, none of this would have happened. I called my sister immediately. I couldn't bear to tell her over the phone, so I asked her to come over. When she arrived and saw the state I was in, she knew something was terribly wrong. I showed her the video, and her reaction was heartbreaking. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. We confronted Mallory together. At first, she denied everything, but when we showed her the video, she broke down. She confessed that Robbie had been flirting with her since day one of her visit. He told her how mature she was, how she wasn't like other girls her age. He complimented her body, her dedication to fitness, her discipline. He made her feel special and grown up. It turned out he had been texting her since her visit, making plans for when she moved here for college. He had even suggested helping her find an apartment in his building, where he kept a separate apartment for his clients who needed to stay overnight before competitions. My sister was torn between pressing charges and keeping this quiet to protect Mallory's reputation. Mallory begged us not to go to the police, saying she was embarrassed enough already and didn't want this to affect her college prospects or gymnastics career. Robbie had the audacity to text me later that night, saying we could work this out if I was willing to be more understanding. He suggested that maybe this was a wake-up call for me to take better care of myself, to be more like the women he was attracted to. I blocked his number immediately. I've moved out of our house and am staying with a friend. I contacted a divorce lawyer first thing this morning. When I told her about the video, she advised me to save multiple copies as evidence. She said that while the relationship might have been legal due to Mallory's age, the fact that it happened with a family member and started during her stay in our home could help my case in the divorce proceedings. Update 3: The divorce is proceeding well. After everything came out, my entire family cut ties with Robbie. My sister considered pressing charges, but Mallory begged her not to, saying she was embarrassed enough already and didn't want this affecting her future. She started therapy to deal with what happened and decided to attend college in a different city, far away from here. These past 2 months have been a roller coaster. Robbie tried to paint himself as the victim, telling everyone that I forced him into an open relationship because I didn't want to sleep with him anymore. He claimed that he was just exploring his options within the boundaries we had set, conveniently leaving out the part about family members being off limits. Some of our mutual friends actually sided with him. They said I should have expected something like this to happen when I suggested opening the marriage. A few even suggested that by not keeping myself fit like Robbie, I had basically pushed him toward younger, fitter women. These people are no longer in my life. I've moved in with my sister temporarily while the divorce proceedings continue. My lawyer thinks we have a strong case, especially with the video evidence. She's confident we can get a favorable settlement. The house was mostly paid for with my money anyway, as Robbie spent most of his earnings on gym equipment and fitness competitions. Robbie has been dating even younger women openly now, trying to show everyone how happy he is. Last week, I heard he's already moved a 20-year-old fitness instructor into our house. My friends who still go to his gym tell me he's been extra affectionate with her in public, probably trying to prove that he's moved on. The hardest part has been dealing with family gatherings. Mallory hasn't been able to face anyone since this happened. She skipped several family events and my sister says she cries herself to sleep some nights. The guilt is eating her alive, even though we've all told her that Robbie was the adult who should have known better. My sister and I have grown closer through this ordeal. She's been my rock, letting me stay with her, helping me pack my things from the house, and supporting me through the legal proceedings. She says she doesn't blame me for what happened, but sometimes I catch her looking at me with this sad expression that breaks my heart. I won't deny that suggesting an open relationship was a mistake, but I refuse to accept blame for his choices. He could have said no to my suggestion, or he could have respected our boundaries. Instead, he chose to betray not just me but our entire family. He took advantage of a teenage girl who trusted him as an uncle figure. Looking back, I can see now that our whole relationship was built on his terms. He always wanted me to change, to be younger, fitter, more energetic. I was never enough for him. The open relationship wasn't the cause of our problems, it just exposed what was already there. The silver lining in all this is that I've rediscovered myself. I've started focusing on my own happiness instead of trying to meet Robbie's impossible standards. I joined a support group for divorced women and it's helping me process everything. My career is going well. I recently got promoted to senior marketing director. I'm glad this happened now rather than years later. At least I can start over while I'm still young enough to rebuild my life. I've learned valuable lessons about self-worth and boundaries. Most importantly, I've learned that compromising yourself to keep someone else happy never works out in the end.